What did you say? Ask her if she's going to be attending by what team? Hi, Elliot. How you doing, Chip, mate? Excellent, man. Speaking of that, when are we going to get out of the water? It's getting the car ready to get in. Get on it. Not a lot, but we're adding it for half an hour, 45 minutes. I'm running the meter in terms of total break-in hours, you know, for the motor. It's very frustrating because as soon as I get going anywhere, I have to throttle it back and change the RPMs. Just bugs me. But I have nothing to complain about. Yeah. Well, we got 50 seconds. Let's see, we don't know if Javier is going to be here. That's always a mystery card. Okay. They have finals today, tomorrow, Friday. That's where he is. He's praying for a hall pass. I gotta go serve the community. No. Yeah. Hi, Nick.
Hi there.
How are you?
Good. How are you
Nice to see
today?
you. Welcome. Good to have you
Sorry, I'm
here.
a bit late. I was
So
trying to
no,
find somewhere to
you're
park.
15 seconds
How are
early.
you? Oh, I am.
Yes, you are, according to that clock.
I like that clock.
Sorry, I did that too.
I have to tell you, Brian and I went to that honor play.
Yes.
Won't be the last one. It was just so amazing.
Even delayed, it was worth it.
So wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I don't know how those guys, they must have been exhausted by the end of it.
It's a long day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw it, Javier was sitting across the stadium
Yeah.
from us, and he was holding a photo of someone, so I want to ask him who that was.
Very
That
cool.
was very interesting, but he's such a neat kid.
Yeah, yeah. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It is 3 o'clock. In respect for everybody's schedule who's taken the time to be here today, let's go ahead and get this meeting started. This is our third meeting of the Fishers Armed Services Commission. And it is good to be with you all. I want to thank you all for taking time to be here today. I'd like to call it to order, and let us begin, as always, with our Pledge of Allegiance. Elliot, will you lead us, please, sir?
Yep. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Mr. Vice Chair Eddie Rivers, would you care to take a roll call, please?
I will not be clear on the name this year. L. Howard,
Present.
Javier Furniture, present. Tiffany
Detlefson.
Dellison, thank you very much.
She's in Washington, D.C.
Elliot,
present.
Leah McGrath, Nicola McNabb,
Hello, present.
Matthew Rapp, George Steff. Save me, will you save me?
You ought to say that in front of the public about 6 times.
Stavropoulos.
It gets easier to say the more you drink.
Okay, all right. Spence Mona. And Jim Lyon.
Javier,
He finished his.
are you,
We had a Spanish
C. Hola.
Oh, congratulations.
Man, there you go.
Well, it's good to have you here. Thank you for making it, Javier.
Day, huh?
As a point of order, do we have to have a quorum in order to conduct business?
Yes, which we do. Yeah.
Which we do. Okay, so a quorum being in attendance, we are now able to conduct the business of the meeting.
Which, if I may, real quick, just as a point, during these meetings, if you cannot attend, I think we've been doing a pretty good job of that, to just please let Elle know so that if we don't have a quorum, we can reschedule.
Very good point. Sure. And we recognize that last minute stuff comes up. So don't ever get into a position where you're eating yourself alive over that, okay? We're all busy people. Thank you. Thank you very much, Elliot. Okay, we have the minutes in front of us as recorded by our colleague Kaylin Worthington. Kaylin, thank you very much for being here again. I don't know whether it's safe to presume that everyone has read them, but for the purposes of this meeting, I am going to assume that we have. And if there are any additions or corrections to the minutes that anyone would like to make, please speak them now. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much, Eddie. There is a second. All in favor of accepting the minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? There is none. Minutes are approved as read. Thank you. Now, under new business, this is going to be fun just for a minute to watch Mackenzie fess up to something that she says she's never done before, which I find hard to believe. But I have asked Mackenzie in the past week or two to make sure that we come to this meeting with a clear understanding of what we all attested that we wanted to lead or support at the last minute, at the last meeting, among the duties of the organization. Cue Mackenzie. Mackenzie, how's that document?
It's gone.
Uh-huh.
It's gone. I told Elle and Elliot this is professionally, since I can remember, never happened.
Uh-huh.
I had a corrupted file, but I took my computer home to send out the agenda last night, so I guess that's what I did for working from home.
Good point.
Anyway, I came up with a solution. I've sent everybody a form to fill out that has the exact same questions. Please signify on that. It's just a drop down. You can select multiple. So under, if you want to be, oversee like our brick pavers, our Liberty Plaza, the full banners, that sort of thing. You can select multiple, and then you can also say if you want to be the supporter or a leader of it. So all of that goes through a system that is very secure. So if you could just do that by the end of the week, I would appreciate it. I apologize.
Yeah. This is also like a do-over. So if you, Jim, he leads the Service Club of Indianapolis as the president. I'm looking at him, and he's probably seen this movie before. But please don't rethink if you were generously engaged, and if you weren't, rethink, because we need all the hands on deck that we can get, okay? Be greatly appreciated. There's a very pertinent reason for that that is on our agenda today as well, which is the Traveling Vietnam War Wall, which we'll come to in just a moment. Mackenzie, thank you. And you said you'd like that to be done by, submitted to you by the end of the week?
Yeah, Friday.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Next item under new business is the Memorial Day ceremony for the city, which is going to be conducted at 10 a.m. right out the front doors of City Hall on Monday, May 30th. Unlike other ceremonies, because of the crowd that we had last year, we almost have 100% in and no room for failure if the weather screws up. But we are working on a contingency location. Eddie, do you want to speak to that, or is your input the input?
My input should be fine.
Okay.
I'm getting it done now. The actual owners are out of town right now, but I'll know soon. My guess is they'll say yes. Okay. We're looking to utilize the 9800 Cross Point. The current it's called Knowledge Services. They have a very nice office there. It will hold a number of us easily. Auditorium is very big, about 400 people can run. And I've used it for the past year now, off and on, at no cost. for military stuff. So I'd say the answer will be yes, but I'll need to wait for final approval. I've already connected, them with McKinsey as well, so we know how to exchange information, confirm it later on.
Very good. And I know you said the address. Can you give us a physical location where this
It's
is?
just north of 96th and the highway.
Okay.
Yeah, it's on the west side of the highway.
Uh-huh.
It's where the old marsh was, old marsh headquarters.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's where Leah's office, among other offices, is located. Very good. And we will make that call by when?
Probably the Thursday or Friday before.
Before the Monday? Okay. So stay loose. If you see anything that's questionable about the weather, we'll be considering that as a reason to move the ceremony. Otherwise, it will be out here Monday morning at 10, and I would request, if at all possible, please be here by 9:30, work the crowd, be present, be visible. To that point, do we have an update on golf shirts or anything that makes us distinctive inside the crowd?
Yep, so, reached out to our contact, she said that we should be able to have them, no problem, by Memorial Day, so I just need a few more sizes, I think, from people that'll follow up with.
Okay.
Get those placed.
At which point we'll wear those to the ceremony. Okay. This is about visibility before the public. This is not about us, but we're going to be visible, so we would like to have that opportunity to wear. I will, from the podium, make note that this is the Fishers Armed Services Commission, and it's good to have you all here, that type of thing, okay? Very good. So you'll contact us when those shirts might be ready, and we could come by conceivably the week before and pick them up here at City Hall?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mackenzie. Appreciate that. About the Memorial Day ceremony, you all approved, and he did accept, Army and Indiana National Guard Brigadier General Don Canaday will be our guest speaker. We may as well look at the rough program at this point. Can review it. I'll just shut up for a second and let you take a look at it. George, we've got you leading the Pledge of Allegiance. Now, if you want to practice that beforehand, when it's your moment, you just step right up and own it, okay?
Your time is coming, sir.
Very good. That's right.
So just look at like the order of them right now, they'll be in a much prettier version.
We'll have the POW-MIA Remembrance Ceremony with our colleagues from Post 470. Paul Eisterhold, a gentleman who has moved to this area, was heavily involved where he used to live with ceremonies of this sort. Last year, he read a poem. This year, he'll do the same thing. He's at the top right-hand corner.
Can you follow up with him, Al, to see what he'll be reading?
Yes, I can look on my phone and I will tell you before we leave, okay? Moment of silence. I'd like to, this is as Elliot says, this is a half-baked idea. But the tradition is that at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, time zone by time zone across the country, that people pause and have a moment of silence. We explain this in the ceremony. It's an easy thing to recite. It's probably a tougher thing for people to remember unless they do what I encourage them to do, and that is set your alarm so when it goes off, you can do it. Half-baked idea, totally shoot-downable. Is there a chance that we could advance warn the community and blow the tornado signal at 3 o'clock as a moment of silence provocation as opposed to panic in the city? If it's questionable weather, we never want to go near it. But is it possible for us to advertise that?
I think that's gonna get a lot of pushback.
Okay.
That's a public safety tool,
Okay.
countywide tool only. So even if we were to push out via social media and other mechanisms,
Abuse
some
of the
people would not
system.
know, right?
Yep.
So some people would be running for cover at that time instead of.
Yep, how could it go wrong?
There's always
Right. So I think
Okay.
it's well intended, but I think that's gonna receive a lot of pushback.
I was talking to a person today at lunch. patriotic as can be, and he said, man, why not get all the engines and the police cars to light their sirens off at the same time? I said, Don, I like the way you think, but this is probably why we're not going to do this. So at any rate, this is just, that was not Don Canada, by the way. This was Don Medley, just another Don in my life. Okay, well, that's officially shot down as a non-starter. Benediction, Gary Stump, placement of carnations. We're going to encourage people to do that either at the monument or at the Liberty Plaza like we did for National Vietnam War Veterans Day. I noticed your footnote about the flyover. Any thoughts on that regarding possibility? What's your hunch? We're going to be able to do that?
Well, he hasn't responded yet, so.
Okay, it's there if we need it.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's a placeholder for right now.
very good. I don't see any reason why we could not do every bit of this inside if we have to exercise a weather plan. Okay? So I think this is a very good program. It's doable, and I want to thank you, Mackenzie, for putting this together for us to consider. Okay? Any thoughts about the agenda for Memorial Day?
What were you going to do, a flyer?
That is the mystery of all mysteries.
It'll take a lot of coordination.
I know, and this is, we have said in the past, yeah, as the pilot, I'm sure, we have said in the past that we are to expect a flyover, and we will know when he thinks it's going to occur, assuming he can get up in the air and he can get to where he is. And I have literally said in the past, if we are in the middle of a moment of silence and we have a flyover, we will acknowledge the flyover. This is not the Rose Bowl parade.
His plan last year, he had, I think, a fuel leak and couldn't do it, but his plan was to text me as he was taking
Yeah.
off, and then I would alert Elle, and then.
Ain't happening. Yeah.
That's when I saw the Purdue game, it came after the game started. I don't know what happened.
Better late than never. Can be a little awkward. Yeah, so the answer is, we don't coordinate it to the moment. We give it lots of fudge factor in the comments, and we all ooh and ah. Last year, literally, I'm not sure we even knew the direction it was coming from, but that's okay because it didn't happen. Okay, any other comments regarding Memorial Day ceremony? Oh, Elliot, could you please give us a couple thoughts about the conversation that you had with the mayor and what we might do inside of this to honor Wayne Caldwell?
Yeah, so for those who haven't heard yet, unfortunately, Mr. Wayne Caldwell has passed away. He's the gentleman who would come up and recite the poem and sing in the past several years at a Memorial Day service. A total treasure of a human being who passed away into his 90s. And so, Elle, you've talked to his widow and
And the two
daughter.
adult children.
Yeah, two children. They'll be in attendance today, or that day. And so the mayor and I spoke that evening when we found out, and this is the half-baked idea, but is there an opportunity for this commission to consider a special award, for lack of a better phrase, a country and community service award, right? So someone who has served their country, honorably discharged, patriotic individual, and then has gone on to do something fairly extraordinary in our Fishers community as well. And I think Wayne Caldwell is a perfect example of achieving both of those things. And so he'd have a special designation. We'd come up with a title if it's a country and community service award or whatever the phrasing would be. And we'd come up with a token that would live on here in our community. So whether it's a special brick paver designation, so the city would purchase a larger one with maybe like a gold star inset into it, or we got this new, and these are just ideas, we're opening the new nickel plate trail this weekend. There's a lot of wall section in there, so maybe we have a special section of the wall, and that's our country and community service award section. We have names and small write-ups available to them, but there's a lot of opportunities for this group to brainstorm, but I think there's a very neat opportunity for really special individuals such as Wayne for generations to hear and know his name.
I think if we were to do that, we'd have to think about how often, because if it's something like a yearly thing, or if it's we recognize someone 3, 4, 5 times a year, something that small, we can go the route of possibly like some sort of like city challenge coin that we give. Whereas if it's something like once a year, I think the brick paver would probably be a good idea. But if it's something that you want to recognize more than just once or twice a year, you might want to go with something smaller that is more easily distributed and probably a little bit less costly over time.
Yeah, that's a great point. I kind of like both, honestly. There's maybe a challenge coin that the mayor could present from time to time, or L, or whoever it is, that's maybe more frequently. And then my idea for this specific award, it wouldn't be time-based. It wouldn't be, there's an annual award to it. It'd just be when the individual rose to that occasion. So it's kind of more of a key to the city type of thing where, there could be years where one's not passed out, or there could be 3 in 1 year, just depending on the situation.
Has he received the Sagamore Wabash?
I don't know, but it would be kind of, I think, of that level, right? Very specific set of parameters to obtain or achieve that. And then it's kind of, it's a Sagamore, it's a key to the city, it's that level.
I would not be surprised, Jim, if he hasn't. Wayne's God bless his soul, a very low-key gent. He literally walked by the first ceremony that he attended and said, "What can I do to help?" And he walked in, and the next thing you know, he's singing with a baritone, and he's reciting a poem from heart that everybody's blowing their nose over. It was just very inspirational, and it became our tradition.
How about naming the new city hall after?
Oh, well, let's knock that one out of the park.
Yeah, certainly. So, I mean, we have the George Cale Police Department, so there's a precedent set with naming buildings after individuals, right? I think that's probably something to consider, the weight of that, right? So this new city hall, really the vision idea behind it is that we're renaming it to be, at least right now, an arts and municipal complex. So the name really signifies what it is for the community, and so we can consider that. But I don't know, that'd be a pretty weighty idea. And if we did that, that's one thing for Wayne. And the idea or hope is that there are other Waynes out there in different formats, and so that maybe there's a section where it grows and expands, and so there's a place to go spend some time reading about the great patriots of Fishers. But that's a possibility, I suppose. Yeah.
We've got time for that to ferment a little bit, but right now, for the purposes of the ceremony, we will draw some attention to his widow and to his adult kids, whoever shows up. I know the daughter will be there. If between now and the ceremony, this Community Country Service Award comes up, if a brick materializes, we can unveil it. We are going to be inventing the words at the same time we're inventing the award.
Sure.
So we'll be able to pull this off. The big thing for this moment, it's Wayne's first non-show, and his widow will be here. And I think we'll be able to pull that off regardless of the duration of this award that we might in fact create. Okay? Javier, thank you. Keep bringing that good stuff, man. Appreciate that. George, also, you two are sitting next to one another as bookends. Well done. Any other comments about the Memorial Day ceremony? Oh, yes. Vince,
Yep.
How about surprising with some good news from the Post?
Yeah, absolutely. So immediately following the ceremony here, the Post is doing their annual Post Everlasting ceremony, where we commit any members of the Post that have passed during the year to the Post to get transferred to the Post Everlasting. So that's going to happen at noon, and we always provide a lunch. So more than happy to announce that at the ceremony here and invite people to come to the Post after. I think we're really, the new board is really working hard to try to get us in the community more. So great exposure and get people to come in. The only thing I need is if anyone has any idea what kind of members to plan for. Because I'd rather have, because our kitchen's not open on Monday, so we're going to cater something in. And I'd rather have too much that run out. So if anyone's got any ideas for numbers, let us know. And if you want to announce that, I wouldn't put that on Kyle during his POW thing, because I don't want to.
Nope, I'll take care of it.
So you can announce that separately. We'll invite right to the Post. But if anyone has any different numbers, I mean, I know not everyone here is going to go over. But as soon as you say free food, it's going to pop up the attendance a little bit. And it'll be another ceremony to sit through. But yeah, who's got any numbers?
Excellent.
Eddie and I will be there.
We can add it to our communication too, that we push that out more there.
Would it be appropriate to say if you intend to attend right now, we're asking for registration for the ceremony?
I can just add that as a checkbox on we're asking for registration just in case if it does get.
Okay? Excellent. Little popcorn action here. Any other comments? I asked that before and I interrupted myself. Okay, let's move on to the Traveling Vietnam War Wall. George, the floor is yours for a couple minutes, sir.
You offered me a couple minutes once before.
Yeah, don't blow it.
I've had an interest in bringing the Vietnam War Memorial Wall to Fishers ever since I moved here. I've seen it, the traveling wall, thank you, a couple of times in different states. If you've never been to the Vietnam Wall in Washington, D.C., it's quite a heavy experience, if I may say so. Especially if you know people on that wall like I do. And when this concept came up, I was very interested, and that's why I went to one of the first ones that they had. And since then, the program that the Veterans, Vietnam Veterans Memorial Foundation generally has done is they started with just the wall and have built it into a true learning experience for just about anybody that wants to attend. I took some time to reach out to the committee, or to the particularly one lady that's actually the manager that oversees everything. This would be a monster undertaking, and I can't emphasize that enough. The procedure is, if you don't know anything about the wall, this memorial's going to be about 180 feet long, and if you've ever seen the original, it's almost like a light V-shaped monument, and they need space for it, obviously, because even though it's only 3/4 size, it still takes up a long length of property, which brings me to a question. Does anybody have any idea how long the center green is?
I don't off the top of my head, no.
They asked me for that information if I can get it. At any rate, I went ahead and talked to them about what the process would be. And I have a handout that I wanted to give everybody. This, just pass them out that way, I guess. Keep one for myself.
And this will be something that we read and come back to another meeting for. This is just an introductory report.
Yeah, this is merely touching just the high points. I put together for Al at his request some bullet points, and I'm going to go over those in just a minute. And let me point out that the wall in itself travels in a 53-foot trailer. And when the monument is taken out of the trailer for purposes of putting together and displaying, the trailer then becomes a mobile learning center, where it opens up, both sides of it open up with an awning, and you can take people through that to see memorabilia that was left at the wall by people. They have the ability to do names, reading of the names of all the people on that wall that were from Indiana, specifically for each state, they can do it. And they actually can take students on a program, a walk-through program with students, and or any other organization, groups that would like to have that brief education. Now, what this would take, and here basically are the bullet points. The application process for the wall to come to visit us. The applications must be turned in by Memorial Day. And quite honestly, the thought of doing it for 2023 is really pushing it, and for reasons I did not know at the time, but have come to learn. and that's the construction of the new city hall. That puts a crimp in what I had an idea for 2023. The application must be in by that Memorial Day prior. So for 2023, we'd have to have it in by this Memorial Day. 2024, have it in by Memorial Day of 2023. And it must be emailed in, not mailed. No money at the time. But there will come a time that they'll make a selection. It usually comes in around November for the upcoming year. And the way they do this process is they ask for every city or organization to put in 3 dates that are acceptable to those groups as target dates, with the understanding that there is no guarantee for any one of those dates. And here's the reason why. I thought that maybe if we got it in right at midnight on the 30th, we'd have a shot at getting our first shot, our first date. They have only one monument, and it visits the entire United States on a given, in a given year, to an untold number of cities. Their process is by truck only. So they have to time things in accordance with their travel schedule to make it from one location to the next. This one starts off in Washington, D.C. So they're not going to be able to do something in Fishers on Memorial Day 2024 and expect to be in Florida the following week, because their schedule is very rigid. They come into town on Tuesday of the week that they're scheduling for setup, and then it runs open 24 hours a day until Sunday afternoon at 2 o'clock of that same week. So it's a 5 or 6 day experience. And it's open to the public around the clock. So to expect them to be here and across the country on the following Tuesday, which is their timetable, it wouldn't work. So they will come up with a plan, what cities to accept the requests from, and plot it out. And however it plots out, the simplest, to be able to pack up and leave one Sunday, be at the next location on Tuesday, is the way they pick the locations that they're going to have. So there is no guarantees, but all we can do is, if we come upon if we decide to do this, is have it prepared to do it. The cost of doing it is $10,000 to the organization that pays all their employees and their travel expenses and whatnot. They also indicate that it's not a tax-deductible donation. The fee goes to the organization for expenses. They also recommend another $10,000 in holding by the city or organization, and that would be used for things like power, porta potties, parking if necessary, T-shirts if you want to make all of the volunteers readily visible, which they highly recommend, things of that nature. So it's a $10,000 slush fund is basically what it comes down to. They also recommend that the city have no less than 6 people on a committee to head this whole thing up. Somebody being assigned to education, somebody being assigned to logistics, somebody being assigned as a escort captain, and those are just a few of the things that they would want in place. And there's a whole list of them, and I'll provide those. The idea is that when they get to town, they're escorted in to the location where we're going to place the monument, where the trailer will end up, hopefully somewhere close by, which makes sense. And then the process begins with their training the people that are directly responsible, in other words, the committee that we appoint. And then from that, on Wednesday, every volunteer will have a 1-hour training session. And they'll be given cheat sheets about all the information they could need to provide to the public, so they don't look like they're just a statue standing there. They've got something to say if asked. They expect that we have a minimum of 30 to 35 volunteers that will man posts throughout the entire time that the exhibit is here.
It's
And then other-
24/7, right, George?
I'm sorry?
That's 24/7, 24 hours a day from the day it arrives until the time it leaves, overnight, through the night, the whole constant staffing.
Correct. And some of those will be used to guide people on where to enter at, because they've got a very, just like the wall in Washington, you're not permitted behind the wall. The wall is protected, so it's not, somebody can't just walk up and play, do things on the back of the wall or peek through or comments or whatever. So we'll have to have people to barricade the back of the walls and then people to stand by to not allow anybody to do that. They're very stringent about that.
Maybe out through about 3 or 4 more minutes, George.
Yeah, I was just to say.
It's okay, I know it's a waterfall, buddy.
Draw this to a close. I've given you just most of the bullet points, but the handout that I've handed out has everything that I covered already plus, and it's very in-depth, and I encourage you to read it. It's phenomenal the planning that they're going to do on this, and the amount of people that they feel that we need to pull this off. I welcome any feedback. I know that there's 2 of you here that have expressed an interest in this, helping in this, and I would like to speak with you after this meeting is over for a brief time if we can. Any questions?
George, thank you. This document, could you please provide it, and the talking points that you're using, could you please provide them to Mackenzie so that she can send them or somehow get them to us so that we can hit all these links and go deeper into this document
Yes,
electronically?
were there any left over, by the way?
There are a few, yeah.
There's some right there.
Yes, there are a couple here.
Yeah, I have my
Thank
copy
you.
of the bullet points. I'll give it to you and you can copy it.
Yeah, I can scan it.
Yeah, okay. Any other questions? Anybody else need one?
I suppose I have 2 immediate pieces of feedback. One, I think this is fantastic. I think it's the exact reason why the FASC exists, to bring these educational opportunities to our local community. So I'm completely supportive, and thanks for taking the lead on this, George. That's awesome. The second piece of feedback is we've got our IT director in the back there, Tracy Gaynor, who overheard the dimensions. And so we went to GIS and looked up the length of the central green out there. It's about 60 yards.
60 yards?
180 feet or so. So it's probably not long enough for this. But we can certainly brainstorm, whether it be Holland Park or Cynthiane, potentially if the grading's
Right up
not
here on
too
top.
significant behind us.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's-
We can figure out the right place for it 100% in our community.
It must be a soft space.
Okay.
I didn't point that out, but it's got to be on dirt or grass. It
Yeah.
cannot be on asphalt, because they do have to drive stakes to support this,
Yeah.
this wall.
If you look
School
about
parks as
6,
well, there's a number of parks we can figure out that'd be great locations for it.
if you look about 6 pages in, there's a color photograph. You can see the size of this shallow V. It's a color photograph on the, it's big.
Well, that's huge.
It's very large. And the concept of having the trailer, relatively speaking, in proximity to that so that you have one spot to go experience all of it is integral. And as George and I were talking one night, brainstorming the idea of, let's pretend just for a moment that if you were to put it out here on the incline at the amp, put the trailer in an adjacent parking lot, have the public be able to be exposed to it in a relatively secure area of the city that would be easy to police, that gives us some at least a piece of momentum.
Right.
To echo something that Elliot said, when you stop and consider that we are in the business community through Eddie in one zone, we are in the school system through Matt and Javier for the education piece, when we consider the splash that this could add to in '24 to the opening of the new city hall, and the fact that the FASC is uniquely designed to be able to have something like this within its purview, to bring volunteers from all over the city who want to step up to own this on behalf of the city and be a docent. It's 30 to 5 to 40. Nothing's wrong with having 60 if people want to step up and be here, for the midwatch.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just think about the camaraderie of this.
And there's, if I may
Yeah.
interject one other point, this doesn't have to be a Fisher's paid-for event. This should be something that the community we could go to for contributions, and co-sponsors. American Legion is an example. Maybe a company that Eddie knows wants to help us put this together and sponsor. There's a lot of different ways this can be done, and there's unlimited resources right here.
Mm-hmm.
And the school would love it too, because I think we'd like to do, I would love to see all the schools in the Hamilton Southeastern District come here.
Mm-hmm.
Like a school trip plan or something, even though they're probably going to be out of school at whatever time it is, but.
So we don't want this to be tagged to George just because he's done the research, but I would like to propose that, first off, is there any negative reaction that anybody has to this that says, this is doomed to failure and I can tell you why? Okay, then if this is a positive thing, may I suggest that what we do is we take this aboard as an order of business on behalf of the city, for the city, done by us initially with research, and that we give this a month to ferment with a goal that says, let's have this thing figured out within 5 to 6 months, all hands touched, so that by the time we get to next year, we can make a submission. There's nothing that says we can't turn it in early, I don't believe. We just have to have it in by Memorial Day. So we could shoot for this, and this could be a tremendous community activity for the year 2024, possibly saying in our application, we can't even consider it if we're going to put it out here until after this building when we pick a date, which is above my pay grade. It may be the spring, but we can box it in.
I will tell Kathy, I wanted to wait till after this meeting before I called this woman back and told her that we won't be applying for 2023, that we will take the time to gather our resources and put things together in order to apply to do it for 2024.
Okay.
It's going to bring a lot of money to the city as well, because people, not just Fishers residents, will come to this. They come from all over to see this. And, restaurants are going to benefit, shopping is going to benefit. There's lots of good things that come from something like this. And I even had another idea, and that would be to honor of flags and have a display of American flags out there. I know an organization that does that. And that, as just off to the side, something additional that we can do all kinds of things that would draw people here, not just for this commission, but for the entire city economic development.
Where do we go to eat while we're coming to see the wall?
Right. Yeah.
But it's a big deal because this could swamp this area, much like requiring, I think, the coordination like Spark Fishers does, where everybody that can be involved and is aware. So, Elliot, half-baked idea, just a thought from you about where we go with this. Maybe the city council, we would have to make a proposal to them. The city would be involved heavily. Do you think we could look at this for maybe 2 or 3 months and strive by the end of the summer, the first part of fall, to bring it before the city?
Yeah, although it wouldn't require taking anything to city council. I
okay.
think this is what's voted on and recommended from the FASC to directly to the mayor. This is actually going to take.
That's what we're here for.
That's the step to take, yeah.
Okay.
The mayor's heard me talk about this before, too.
And
so-
you're right, and I know he's supportive of it as well. So when we collect our resources and figure out when we want to do it, where we want to do it, we'll put the plan in front of them, and then we'll go execute on it.
Deconflict it, you know. Instinctively, does this appeal to your sense of patriotism? Yeah, yeah, I think this would be fabulous. And Matt, if we get the school system involved with this to consume it as a history lesson, oh my gosh. Okay, well then with that being said, I would just ask for a gesture of acclamation that we say first, George, thank you, that we roll with this, we process it for a month, we come back next month with this list of leadership and support people. This may land perfectly on one of our duties. If not, we'll figure out where it does fit. But by a vote of acclamation, is the commission all for this, to investigate for possibly 2024? Great, great. I think that's sufficient for this meeting, okay? Thank you very much for your work, George. You got to make a commitment to us. You're going to live to 24, okay? Because I want this thing to happen on your watch.
I can't make any promises.
Okay, we want this to happen on your watch, buddy, okay?
That'll be a huge celebration for you.
I'm sorry.
That'll be a huge celebration.
That's right, that's right. Very good. Thank you, George, appreciate it. Spark Fishers. This was sort of a last minute thing. I said, boy, how do we fit into that? And the answer from me is, I don't know, but I want us to make sure that our eyes are open and our heads on a swivel as we think about possibilities. I believe it would be fair to say that we should make ourselves known to the Spark Fishers Committee that we're available, but I don't know what we bring to the table other than the fact that we might be able to harness some resources. Mackenzie, do you have any thoughts on this just off the top of your head without any rehearsal?
Yeah, so I reached out to the person who's overseeing Spark, so if you would like to be like involved in the parade, you're more than welcome to do that. If there's like a fast booth that you guys want to do, there's always opportunities to volunteer. Traditionally, they've done a like Heroes Hall in this room. It's just kind of like a place that's air conditioned for people to cool down, that sort of thing. I don't believe they're doing that this year, but Gabe is also getting back to me on additional opportunities. So I'll circulate those with the group.
Okay.
Is there a parade or anything like
There
that?
is, yeah.
Okay.
There's a parade. Earlier in the week too, there's a 5K, there's a car and art show. I believe that's it.
Yeah, there's a kickoff, there's a concert earlier in the week. The car show was the first time last year, was well received. Then really the day of, there's the 5K. Yeah, the day of festivities down here, and it, you know, the tail end of it has a parade in the evening time frame, late afternoon, and then fireworks that evening. But yeah, the parade's kind of the big event, if you will.
This might be one of those occasions where we might have a float, and we would sit on a float as the Fishers Armed Services Commission. I don't know whether we'd roll up our sleeves and have something to do, because it's obviously occurred in the past without us. But at this point, I think we might be guilty of association with things patriotic, and we ought to consider, at least if we're around for that weekend, while there's might be nothing formal for us to do, this might be a thing where we might want to put it on our calendar, attend, participate, and be flexible up as the planning starts and
Do you have a
gets
grand
gets
marshal
launched.
for this?
When
Is
it's
there-
what?
Is there a grand marshal for the parade or anything?
So
like
our
that?
grand marshal, since this year is Fisher's 150th anniversary, sesquicentennial, we are actually looking for the oldest Fisher's resident to be our grand marshal. So if you know of anyone,
There's a 102-year-old veteran and lives in Britton Falls.
well,
Female at that.
well, send her our way.
Talk to her about that.
Yeah, we're
She's
looking
a
for,
friend.
that will be our grand marshal this year.
Very good.
And she's as sharp as,
Yes, she is. She's been to a ceremony before.
yes, she has.
Yeah, yeah.
She's now 102 years old.
Okay, be aware, what are the dates of Spark Fishers, please?
Spark Fishers will kick off
22nd.
Oh, June 22nd through 25th. I'm sorry, it's at the bottom, it's right below that. June 22nd through 25th. Okay, put that on your calendar, dear friends.
This will be the first year that I'm going to stay in town because I knew ahead of time when the dates were. So usually I'm out of the state on a camping trip with family and stuff during
All right.
that time, but I'm staying here this time.
Okay, any other thoughts in general about Spark Fishers that anybody wants to share? Okay.
Go Carmel, they want to do it first.
Yeah. Well,
Anything being done for Armed Forces Day?
we haven't gotten there yet. We're still on new business, George.
You went over it, okay.
Okay. Anything else about Spark Fishers under new business? Mackenzie, could you, hearing none, I'll move on to the next item. Mackenzie, could you please share a few thoughts about the FAST communications plan, please?
Yeah, so speaking of Armed Forces Day, so we'll repurpose a blog that we've done around that. So we're not going to do an event on that day, but we will recognize it on social media and push it out via a blog. And then for the communications plan, so I've gathered all of that info that you sent me, so like your bios, your resume. Ashley Elrod, our communications director, has all of that, and she's putting together a press release, which she will release around Memorial Day to also drive some of that participation too, and just awareness around the Memorial Day ceremony, as well as a media advisory will go out to in advance of Memorial Day, which we'll mention in the FAST as well.
If you all, thank you, Mackenzie, if you are able to attend the Memorial Day ceremony and you're standing there in one of your cool new golf shirts with the new logo, and maybe even our pocket have a few business cards, which I'll let you speak to in a minute, it's possible that if there is media coverage, they may say, could I please have an interview with one of those people over there in that color shirt that they know is ours? At which point, be ready to step up and speak up about what you believe you're doing as a member of the FASC. Because I think they'll be interested in grassroots level thoughts rather than a formal statement that we all read from just because we're at the ceremony. Okay, for example, if Vince is speaking, you representing the Post, speaks from his strength, you know? Remembering we're composite of different parts of our community. Thank you, Mackenzie. Would you please express our appreciation to Ashley for pulling that with her staff together on our behalf, and whatever we need to do to support, augment, to be available as a result of that coming up. If somebody wants to do a blog or an interview or whatever, give us a chance to lean in with a positive response, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Okay, now to upcoming events. You can see them on the calendar. Armed Forces Day, the answer is nothing specific in the community for Armed Forces Day. I personally hope that in the future we will re-examine this, because I don't know how many there are in our midst who are currently serving, but I always feel like they get a little short-sheeted. That's not a critique of the city's approach. I just want to say, as a member of the FASC, that I hope that we can discover a possibility for that in the future. Because if there are people who are serving, I'd like to see them recognized some way, shape, or form. I don't know what that looks like. Not necessarily a ceremony, but something that draws attention to those who are standing on the rampart, so to speak, today, representing all of us in a very disproportionate level of sacrifice and service. And I don't want to look at Elliot, but he's among those people. Okay? So we got one of our own in our midst. May 21st. Memorial Day, I think we pretty much ground that into the ground. Spark Fishers, June 22nd through 25th. That looks like that covers the agenda. Admin note sidebar. Earlier this week, or last week, Mackenzie, Elliot, Eddie, and I got together on a Zoom call, and we are going to institutionalize the generation and the approval of the agenda to occur on the Monday before the week of our meeting. Okay? To program into our thinking. I'd like to encourage all of you to think 2 weeks before the meeting, which will be the Wednesday before that Monday, if you have any ideas about stuff that needs to be on the agenda. I know we go from meeting to 2 weeks before the meeting, but I would like for us to institutionalize administratively that if we have an item that we want to bring before the agenda, to give it to Eddie, Elliot, or me, or bring it to us in an email or a text message, but don't wait till the last minute, because when we meet on that Monday, we're putting this thing together so that this meeting can go down in less than an hour, which we are on track to do today. So please don't be shy about bringing forth an idea, because I think we're just barely getting started in fulfilling our responsibilities. We're just keeping up with events right now, but we haven't come up with a policy one statement yet, and that's one of the things that we're supposed to be thinking ahead on. That's not a condemnation, it's just that we're just getting rolling, y'all. Any thoughts on that from anybody relative to what we're doing as an organization? Okay. Have you heard anything, Elliot, from within the ranks of the city about whether we are or are not fulfilling expectations at this point? We're not looking for strokes, but if we've got room to improve very quickly in response to an expectation, do you have anything that we ought to know about?
No formal comments. I'd say, let's just keep charge and keep our heads down and build this thing out. I think we're doing what we're supposed to be doing right now.
Okay, good. Anything for the good of the order? George?
One more point, and I'm sorry to bring it up, but I've been invited to speak to the Britton Falls Veterans Group Monday night about what this organization is.
Mm-hmm.
And I tentatively committed to it pending the thoughts of this group as to whether I should or should not, what I should or should not say. And that's why I'm bringing it up now.
I would say that is one of the groups that you represent. Now, this is just a straw man answer. You're there inside that community. The downside is you're there inside that community, you've always been there. And for people to see you as a member of the FASC versus George, who's always been around, that's an identity issue that I think you need to own and step into. And frankly, you can see who's around the table right now. If you want to have a wingman or a wingmate, whatever the term is that we want to use, reach out to us and maybe we can be available to augment you so it doesn't look like George is just replaying himself. But this is a chance for an identity moment inside a community.
It is, and that's why I agree. At least
Were you invited?
I was invited, yes.
Well, that's a good start.
Rob Beachler invited me personally.
Very good, very good. Not an exclusive invitation, but I would be willing to talk to you, to be out there, but I've been out there before and I don't want that to be the George L. show being replayed without it being a FASC twist to it.
Well, something, your name came up as to whether or not you would attend with me.
The answer is sure.
Okay.
I'd be pleased to do that, but let's not get stuck in a rut.
Yeah.
Jim comes out there, if he's available, that adds an element of new fidelity. Nick comes out representing the FASC. Javier, because he's got nothing, well, you're working probably that night. But think about it. But the idea of if you could augment and have a sample of the commission in attendance, that might be a nice thing for people to go, well, this is something different. This isn't an old dog replaying a trick, So please talk to us, and anybody, if that stirs your thoughts, please contact George and let's make ourselves available. What time does that go down on Monday night?
I don't have my phone. It's about, I think it's 6:30 and
Okay.
Start the social hour, I think, at 5:30, and then 6:30
Okay.
is the meeting.
Okay.
I'm happy to go. We're always looking for Britton Falls, especially volunteer-wise, or our city government academy. So I would be happy to go from a community engagement standpoint.
Sweet.
I'd go. I don't work, but I do know that next week I am getting a day to go to Muncie to work on my paperwork to ship out. And if it's not Monday, then I go.
Okay. Let's be in touch with George about this, okay? And that wasn't a finesse to mention you, Nick, but if this resonates with you, or Eddie, let's make ourselves available, because this is a very influential segment of our population.
Well, it's a, for those who don't live in Britton Falls, the Veterans Club there is over 200 strong. And They, in the past, the organization's been in existence for 12 years now. And I've been a member for most of those 12 years. I am not a member at this point. And that's a whole nother story.
Yes, it is.
But,
And it's part of the rut
it's,
that thinking can be in because it's always been the way that it's always been. And that's why I would like to stir us to be engaged with George, for them, the vets there, to have their attention caught, to see that it's not the way that it always was, and that there's something new in town to pay attention to their sacrifice as veterans.
I told Rob the other day, if this becomes an ambush, I have the ability to shoot back.
I wouldn't want to take you on. You served with the Marines. So keep that in mind, and if anybody could please participate, I'm going to be there, Mackenzie's going to be there. Reach out to George, make yourself available, please, and let's go ahead and add some bench strength to this opportunity if you can participate, okay? Thank you. Anything else for the good of the order? Yes, Matt?
How much longer are we going to be able to meet here? Is our next meeting here or somewhere else?
June will be in July.
Oh, actually.
Yeah, we should be able to do July. We'll start to pull AV and cabling out of the space around that time frame. We'll hand this building over to our public safety department to do some training inside this building for a couple weeks, and then we'll tear it down towards the end of September, 1st of October. So we'll figure out the right location. It may just be right behind us in the pavilion for the summer months. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Javier, please.
I did speak recently with several teachers and students about what we discussed last month. Well, actually, it came up on its own, and I just brought this in.
The military club?
About
the military club?
Some of the students there and the teacher who runs it. There was another teacher, as well as a few recruiters who were talking about it, possibly starting a junior ROTC at FHS. I brought up that we talked about it before at this meeting as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that'd be something we could look into doing, probably not this year, or really like actually getting it off the ground next year, but in the future, something that we could push for, because there really isn't a school nearby that has a junior ROTC program.
Mm-hmm.
There's a few, but not many. And the other thing, just to keep you guys updated on the club I have, working with the recruiters in the schools more to get them in, because the school is trying to push back on recruiters coming into the school. They're limiting them to only 1 day a month, and they don't let them like leave their table area. They have one of these tables in a corner of the room. That's it. They're not allowed to like leave their area, which is kind of weird. And they won't. Whenever they try and come in to just kind of mingle with the students, they get pushed back from the office. So I'm gonna have one of them try.
Been like that for a long time.
Matt, any thoughts on that? Not to corner you, but just gut reaction stuff?
Probably some of that's the safety and security of an unescorted guest through the building.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably where some of that lies. They don't want to get hired. Somebody can start walking around, walk into the classrooms early or anything else. So I'll look into that.
I was talking to them. It's
Are
different.
these
like Carmel,
are these
Noblesville.
people in uniform when they come to the school?
Yes, they are. It's recruiters for every branch. They've talked before about other school, Carmel, Noblesville, wherever else they go. They can walk around during lunch and talk with students. At Fishers and HSE, they're not really allowed to. I told them I need you. I told the two, and since it's the end of the year, it probably won't get anywhere right now. But I need them to actually go and try and talk their way through. If they keep getting the no, we're not letting you through, we don't want you to talk to students, that's the point I can bring it up to a counselor, the vice principal, the principal, whatever, deans, about, hey, why are they not letting us do this? What is the path to be able to do this? How can we solve it? I just need the solid no answer that I can go up and ask why we're getting.
I think this is a great opportunity for us to change the way this tide looks.
I've spoken at Fishers and HSC a couple times, but I was invited into the classroom.
And it's not so much about going to class, it's more about even during like lunchtime, when it's a kind of general period for them to be, that they can talk to, they still aren't allowed in. They get one day a month per recruiter.
Well, let's also think of this as an opportunity for us to not only represent our character as gentlemen and ladies, but also to consider that we've got a veterans population that is probably waiting for us to prove our worth in a way that is pertinent to their heart as well as their head. And this might be an opportunity for us to, once the door gets cracked, for us to be able to tell the veterans community that we're working on engagement, not for credibility, but for the actual interface between those veterans and those students. This isn't to prove the fast. We want to be invisible as we make this difference. But boy, I think we ought to be trying to make this difference. And it seems to me that the superintendent of the school system who attended our ceremony, could you please make sure that she's invited and everybody shows up that's a leadership member, gets an invitation to the Memorial Day event? And let's see if we can erode these walls from the heart.
You know, she shouldn't be too averse to that because she came from Marion County and they have junior ROTC programs in most of the school or most of the high schools around there, although it's not been real active because of COVID. But I think that she'd be more inclined to.
Good.
Something like that.
And I don't even want to look at Elliot on this because I don't want this to be a city function. I want this to be a grassroots level fast function to change these mindsets. Okay?
And
Any-
to piggyback off him, I did talk to the principal at HSC.
Uh-huh.
She's wants a club, she's looking for a teacher to sponsor the club.
Mhm.
So maybe we can get back if she finds a teacher.
Okay. There might be a teacher out there who's had a member of the family who served in the military. It might be that kind of a link that they can honor their parent. You know, why not play that card? Okay. I would like to say, Javier, thank you for representing this organization, not only on your own, but as you serve inside the student body. I know that you could be a lone voice. I would like to encourage you to find a wingman or two and start grooming your replacement, your successor, not for a while, but let's build up some bench strength there too, because I don't want you to suffer burnout. Okay?
Yep.
Okay. Subtle but enduring influences we want to start making. Anything else for the good of the order, you all? Hearing none, I make a proposal that we adjourn our meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Say aye. Thank you very much. We won't even ask for opposition.